because I chose to speak up. And I think that's the message that I have for everybody, that is to break the silence and speak up, because silence is the biggest ally for any kind of injustice, and change is never created through silence. So all these movements, Time's Up, Me Too, I think the biggest message is it's empowering people to get their voices back and speak up and stand up for themselves. And I'm thrilled to be a part of it. So thank you.
So is it fair to say that it is our turn?
It is.
It's our turn. Okay, Mary. You tell us if it's our turn, because I know we were debating a little bit back there. Is it our turn? Is it not?
I'm very happy to see what's going on. I mean, I ended up in broadcasting. I started off when I was 19. I'm 59 now. And at the time, I can't even tell you the stories. There's so many stories I could fill a filing cabinet with the stories that have happened to me and many of my colleagues. And so what I've seen, and I've spoken to Kelsey about it, it's very hard. I'm very happy, and it's very positive and optimistic. But there's a side of me, because I've seen the way these, and I can only speak from my perspective as a person in the media. I don't really know about other boardrooms and other occupations. My occupation is media. But I do worry about what's happening behind the scenes. I know they're all putting up a great public front, and whenever attention is brought to them, there seems to be a great effort to show that they're making moves, that they're entering the 21st century, and that we have a voice. But as I said to Kelsey, and I don't want to be so pessimistic, I look at the girls at NBC that stepped forward and spoke about what happened with them, with Matt Lauer and some of the other people there, and I wonder, are they going to be there in a year? What's going to happen to them? The real job is, let's follow and see what happens, not right now, because they're all vocal and everybody's got support, but let's see what happens to them in a year. Is there going to be a massive layoff? That's what worries me, just what's going on behind the scenes. I hope that it's positive. I don't want to be pessimistic, but there's a part of me that's very cynical, and I worry because in the end, they are only saving their companies, and they don't want to be sued, and it's really, really the bottom line is money. Is it really about me as a woman? Yeah, a little bit, but I think mostly it's about money and embarrassment, and it's save your reputation at all costs. So I guess the real answer is going to be, where are we going to be a year or two from now? Let's see what happens to all these women that came forward. That's going to be the story.
Fatima, what do you think?
Just trying to figure out how to turn this thing on. Okay, got it.
She's voiceless.
I think we've finally reached a tipping point where we're standing up and refusing to be treated as anything less than equal. I think the movement has been building for a long time, and with any luck, this movement is here to stay. For those of us who watch the Golden Globes, as Mama Oprah said, it's thanks to all of those women who felt strong enough and empowered enough, like Samara, to share their personal stories. And each of us in this room are really celebrated for the stories we tell, and we're just so lucky that this year women became that story. And Samara, I really resonate with your story, because I'm ethnically Pakistani as well, and born and raised in Oman, which is right next to Abu Dhabi. Yeah. And I actually at 16 decided to leave Oman and move to Canada to start a new life, because I didn't want that to happen to me. And I just have so much love for Toronto and Canada, because the city really gave me a second chance at life. And while there's so much systemic discrimination rooted in our culture, business culture, I think Canada is miles ahead of different parts of the world, and I just want to also celebrate that.
My turn. I think a big part of it, I think saying, going back to what you said, Mary, that, there's a lot on the, we're seeing a lot of the sort of the PR around it right now. So we're seeing like the really, everyone's trying to like look really good and stay ahead of it and contribute to it that way. And I think really what I would like to see just going to your point, is to see, you know, women sticking together, and because in the industries that I've worked in, I've seen a lot of women like go against each other, and I think that just, you know, it just allows for us to crumble in a lot of ways, right? So I think as long as we're all kind of going in the same direction together, and we're supporting each other continuously through the, you know, the really high times where we're getting a lot of attention, a lot of praise, and then also as it, you know, kind of dissipates a little bit, and then the men as well. Like, I think we all need to kind of stick together and stay on the same message. So I think that continuously bringing awareness to it, and I see a lot of changes happening in my industry. I mean, back in the fall, I wrote this post about how, on LinkedIn actually, about how there's so few women that, you know, reach out to me and want to be speakers. But I get men reaching out to me every single day. I probably get 5 to 10 men a week emailing me or messaging me saying, I want to speak on one of your stages. And I've probably in the past year had a total of, you know, maybe 3 or 4 women in total. And so there was this huge disparity, and I saw it happening, and I was like, what's going on? Like, where are all these women? Like, they're so, because I know they're out there. I know there's amazing speakers and amazing women with stories, and I needed them for my stage, and I always had to go to so much effort to, like, do all this research to find great women to put on my stages to equal it out. And yet it was so easy for me to just, like, open up my computer and find, you know, any number of guys. And so I wrote this post, and I got the most amazing response. I had like 1,000 women email me saying, oh, I didn't even know I could do that. And so I think, you know, so I think it also kind of goes back to how are we training, or how are we learning, and how are we teaching our children and our daughters to advocate for themselves and to reach out and to progress their career along and their life along in a positive way. So I think it's, you know, there's certainly, you know, a huge number of things that kind of feed into what we need to do, but I think, you know, moving forward all in the same direction, and training each other, or training our children up to advocate for themselves.
Same question?
Yes.
Okay. Hi, all you people over there. I feel like I'm going to turn this way now. I'm going to just start off by saying that I speak a lot, and I sit on a lot of panels, and humbly saying this is actually the most nervous I've ever been speaking on a topic. Like, my heart is really racing right now. And to be completely honest, that's because I feel like I have quite a different view on a lot of these topics, and I'm not sure how that's going to be received. So, that out of the way. I, as was mentioned, I'm in tech, but I've had quite a wide variety of backgrounds. And I personally, I guess as a net result, don't feel discriminated against because I'm a woman. There's been certainly situational, independent events that might have been like that, but as a whole, I don't feel that. And I have been in media, and I have been in, you know, tech and science and all these things. But again, I can only speak as me living in Canada. I can't even imagine coming from a country that didn't, you know, have equal rights as a law. So, you know, that's that aside. But in terms of the movement and a lot of the progress that is being made and things that are happening on social media, I'm not personally convinced that it's having, I guess, the effect that we want it to have. It's definitely having an effect. It's definitely bringing in awareness, and it's having women speak up, and it's giving women the strength and the courage to share their stories that they may not have before. And I think that's very powerful. I'm just not sure if that is going to change the mindset and the actions of a man that didn't already feel that women should have an equal place at the table. I don't know. I think also that a lot of times bringing a lot of women together and having us talk about how women should have more rights and have more power is like the opposite to what we should do sometimes. I think those conversations should really be had amongst men. And I think that there should be a lot more conversation between men and women, and asking men, like, do you feel differently when you see Me Too hashtags everywhere? Is seeing these movements, has this changed your thought at all? And I mean, we could do a poll here, but I would wager a guess that any man that is in this room is already a little bit forward-thinking and a little more liberal, unless, you know, you have to be here by court order or something like that. But, you know, most of the men in this room are probably feminist in the sense that they want to see women do really well and they want to support women. But I'm not convinced that the boys clubs and the CEOs at the table and the people that were not thinking women are equal are going to have a different thought just because of a trending hashtag, personally. I could talk a lot more about it, but I'm sure we'll get there.